Coming at you live from 1am Book Club headquarters. It is the 1am Book Club!
Yeah!
Woo!
Alright! I love the 1am Book Club!
Woohoo! June edition.
Hi everyone.
Hi, welcome to June.
It's June.
It's June!
It's certainly June.
It's not June, guys.
We're definitely not backlogging this back to back with a March episode. But June has been lovely.
It's been
Weather's
great.
been good.
Yeah. I love the weather. I love going to barbecues and having Karate Kid-like nights on the beach.
Yeah.
Listening to my boombox and getting beaten up by boys looking like skeletons.
Yeah. You know what? I'm the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
You get beat up with by those guys as well?
Yeah. The blonde one and his two Goonies.
Goonies.
That's a different movie.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
Welcome to June.
Oh.
And
What are we doing on this special episode of the 1am Book Club podcast?
we are doing, Adam, we're doing our 4 favourites. Like Letterboxd.
Inspired by Letterboxd.
Not sponsored by Letterboxd, but Letterboxd.
I mean,
I
this
know.
is probably the wrong platform.
If you want to true. I don't know if yeah.
You want to sponsor a book podcast? Go right ahead. But
But hey, Letterboxd, I think you should sponsor us. Sponsor us, Letterboxd.
Goodreads, give us
Goodreads.
a sponsor.
Oh, Goodreads. Love Goodreads.
Mm.
Okay, this is our 4 favorites. How this is gonna work is, we're gonna go between each other and present a case for why you, the listener at home, and
Each other.
each other to read our favorite books.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm looking at the books you got there. Most of them I have read. So
The other one that I don't have here, you've also read.
yeah,
But I'll convince you anyway.
yeah, to reread.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is gonna be cool. And then
I don't think I've read any of these books that you have.
Yeah.
Except for this.
and then we'll do a smash or pass type thing
Yeah.
that I like to call read or deed, where
That's very clever. Bog,
Where?
well done.
thank you, where you either agree to read the book or you deed it and you
Or your deed.
fire and die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
So welcome to 4 favorites. How do you want to...
How do I want to start? Well,
Do you
let's
wa-
start with what you drinking in your coffee cup.
Today I'm currently on just black coffee.
Boring.
Kind of boring, yeah. I just needed the energy. And you know what? It's been kind of cold out lately, so I just needed some heat in me.
Aww.
Even though it's June, it's been a little chilly. Yeah, out of my mug that I made at Cafe Ceramico, which is a little
shout out Cafe Ceramico.
place where you can paint your own mugs and plates and stuff
And
here
figurines.
here in the bonny town that we both live
Live
in,
in.
that we won't name drop in
We
case
won't
of
say.
stalkers.
We won't
But
say.
yeah, it's great. It's inspired by the movie and the musical Big Fish,
You love Big Fish.
which is one of my favourite movies and musicals of all time. I was in the musical last year, and so I thought I'm going to make a little mug. And that's a book too, Big Fish by Daniel Wallace.
Sloop.
Maybe one for the pods.
Maybe.
And just black coffee. Yeah, nothing exciting. Let me get a little sip for the microphone.
Oh God.
How was that for everyone? Was that good? How was that for you?
That was
that good?
really bad.
Okay.
I did not enjoy
Bog,
that.
what are you drinking?
I'm drinking ice at the moment.
Just ice.
Just ice.
Just what's left over from the coffee you had earlier.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh well. I don't know. I'm limiting myself to 1 coffee a day now because it got out of hand a little bit.
Oh,
where
really?
I would have a coffee in the morning and then go to work and have another coffee,
Yeah.
and then later on in the shift have a double espresso.
Yeah.
That's
That's
not good.
dangerous. That is dangerous.
That's
I-
not good.
I'm still drinking way too much coffee. That's kind of why I'm trying to limit myself. He says drinking black coffee.
Black coffee.
Yeah. But
To be
gotta
fair.
do what you gotta do.
Yeah, well, you know.
And
Well,
what are you
currently reading.
right now?
Let me think. Okay, currently reading. I will be currently reading.
What will you be reading in June?
In June, I'll be reading Corrections The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen.
Oh, really? Now
Yeah.
that you've said that, you need to do it.
I need to do it now. But that's good because it's a really big book, and I feel like if I say it, I will do it.
Fair enough.
What will I have read? The Line of Beauty by Alan Higginsworth, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Not Hollingworth.
You will have read
I will have
The
read
Collector
The Collector. I will
by
have
John
read
Fowles.
Never Promised You a Rose Garden.
Yeah.
I will have read
Man in the High Castle.
God.
You will have DNF'd The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah. And other books in between that.
Nice. I'm currently
What are you currently reading, Adam?
working on
The Chernobyl book.
the Chernobyl book that I've been reading for months. No. I'm going to read The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy.
Set.
Yeah.
Bet.
Yeah.
Deal.
I've had it on my shelf for far too long.
Yeah.
Way too long.
Forged in Stone.
And it's meant to be really good. And he
Sweet.
just died recently.
Oh no, RP.
I know. One of the greatest working American writers.
God.
I'm either reading The Passenger by I'm either reading I am reading The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy and probably something by Stephen King.
Yeah.
Those are what I'm currently reading.
Me too, probably same. Whatever ones
Me
I
in the
fit-
future.
Me whatever ones I fit in my suitcase.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you go
Okay.
first. So is there an order to it? Like,
So I'm not gonna put an order to this because it's enough that I whittled down all of the books on my shelf to 4.
okay.
Don't want to
You want to whittle them down more?
I don't want to rank them.
Fair enough. I'm
No.
going to, just because I
That's-
feel like it.
That's fair enough. Okay. I am going to start off with dun, 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 Down the Drain by Julia Fox
Okay.
is my first book on my favourites list.
A recent
And
read?
A recent read. I read this basically in one day. I was in the airport and my flight got delayed, so I just sat and read the whole time. This book, good lord, this book has everything. This book has everything. It has drugs, alcohol, dominatrix,
Okay.
Italy,
Oh, yeah.
New York. It has.
Okay, so it can't have Italy and New York.
It
That's
does.
that's
It does.
insane.
No, it has Italy and New York.
Okay.
I'm no joking you right now, Adam. Italy and New York. It has like just a really sad story. So Julia Fox, it's her biography or her story so far. She changes all of the names in the book, and quite rightly so. Some of this is very incriminating.
Okay.
But yeah, she's very like her personality comes through a lot in this book.
Nice.
It's like it's very funny. It's so funny. The first line of the book is, "The year's 1996, and I just landed in the grand metropolis of New York City. The moment we step off the plane and my little feet hit the pavement, I drop my suitcase and cross myself." She's so iconic. I love her. I love her.
Cross myself.
I cross myself.
All right.
Yeah, and she crosses herself. She, like, it's just a lot. She's a very cool character, and it's very, very interesting. Very well paced.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I love this book.
Down the Drain's a really good title for a book too.
And it's not like it's like a recurring theme, but she doesn't say it. It's like down the drain. Like there's a lot of highs and lows. In this.
Yeah.
Just like struggling with drug abuse and stuff, and there's only one time that she says down the drain, and I'm like, that's deserved. Like, you know when the title was like dropped in a book, and you're like,
yeah.
that's good. That's where it comes from. That's awesome. But yeah,
Nice.
it's really, really good.
Julia Fox.
Julia
When was it
Fox.
published?
It was published really recently, actually, at like last year.
Because for everyone listening at home, Bog has the hardback, so it must be a
do.
pretty reasonably new book.
Yes, no, it is a new book. It came out in 2023.
Oh yeah, really new.
Really, really new.
Wow. And already
Um,
it's in the top 4.
Yeah, it's so good. All through it, you're rooting for her. She does some really, she does some really like not good things.
Yeah.
That you think if this was any other person, I'd be like, done.
Hate them. Yeah.
I'd be done. But I keep on rooting for her,
Yeah.
and it's insane. And goodness gracious, she's a dominatrix, and she
Is it just her story of her life?
Yeah, it's the story of her life
Alright.
up until now.
Right.
It's really cool. At one point she was a dominatrix, which, you know, she enjoyed doing that.
Good for her.
And and it's awesome. And it talks about how she gets into she has like an art show that's really popular, and her friend start up like it's like a clothing line, and that does okay, but it all gets too much to handle. And then she sells it off. Then she gets into Uncut Gems.
Of course,
Safdie
great movie.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Uncut Gems. I love her, and she's so awesome, and seems like she's got like a weird, interesting sense of humor. She does, and it's so funny. I laughed a lot reading this. I'm like, there's a bit in it where she's like, she talks really like nonchalantly about like being admitted to like rehab, or like it's not really like rehab, it's like kind of like a prison, but like a juvenile prison. All right. But she's like off her mind on drugs, and she's like, oh yeah, well, you know, I needed out. Like I needed out. I couldn't do it anymore. They told me no, so I just stayed. You know, I stayed. Yeah. You know, it's okay. But it's funny. Yeah. And it's yeah. I'm excited. You know what? You've convinced me. Yeah, it's really good. There's a bit in it where she talks about Kanye, and I'm like, oh god, let's not talk about that one. Big up to Kanye. He's such a bad person in this. Kanye might be listening. No, he's not. Be sober. I hope he is listening. Kanye, shut up. Bro's just been silenced. By Keto. Were you silent or were you silenced? By the 1am Book Club podcast. You know what, Kanye? Be quiet. Julia Fox did nothing wrong, and you treat her like I don't like she's just for show. Good God. So would you say that this book is definitely a read? A good. How does read or deed work? You need to. I need to describe read or deed. Okay. I don't know very much about Julia Fox, but I guess that's a good reason to read. How many pages is it? It is 318 pages. Okay, very easy to get through. Not long. I got this through in a day, Adam. I can even get through Man in the High Castle in a month. And this I got through in a day. Okay. Bog, to this book, I am going to give it read. Yes. I'll give it a reluctant read. Because I just don't like memoirs. Really. This is a good one. Can I read you the last paragraph? Yeah, go on. Okay. I'll do this in my best Julia Fox thing. Okay. As across the street, clutching my poster, a group of girls inside a restaurant recognise me and begin jumping up and down, holding their own poster up to the glass. I smile and wave as an unfamiliar feeling envelops me. Joy. Everywhere I turn, I see girls dressed like me. It's a far cry from the days when I was bullied and called weirdo, freakazoid, white trash, prostitute, or my favourite, weird white girl with a fat ass. I was ridiculed for being different and for doing what I had to do to survive, but now everybody's wearing latex. Oh my god, so good, Julia Fox. I love you. She kind of had me with her weird white girl with a fat ass. Yeah, that's she's so funny. Like a weird, she's so ironic funny. Sense of humour. She's like, have you ever seen the movie 13? No, but I know of it. Yeah, it's like that. It's like Rachel, Evan Rachel Wood. I think so. Yeah. The movie 13 with the two girls. Yes. You go insane. And Holly Hunter's in it. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Yes. It's like that. Yeah, it's like that. Okay. Yeah. I'll give it read. Read. It's so easy to get through. She's so funny. I love it. Okay, audience at home, you have my permission to read Julia Fox's Down the Drain. Awesome. Read. So, you go next. Number 4 on my list. Number 15. I have a book I haven't read in a very long time, so I apologise for maybe not remembering very much about it. But I remember that I really like it. It's one of my favourite books of all time, and one of my favourite authors. And it is The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea by Yukio Mishima. It's a really short book. Really short. Like I read it in one afternoon. The edition I have is only 131 pages. So really very short. That's exactly how many pages I got into Man in the High Castle. So there you go. Maybe this is a book for you, Bog. And it was written by Yukio Mishima, who was quite a prolific Japanese author who sort of lived by the samurai code, and he wanted to bring back the samurai code after the westernization of Japan, basically. Bring back samurai
the
code.
Meiji period, I believe that was called. The Magi period. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but essentially when Japan became westernized and Yukio Mishima believed in bringing back the samurai code of conduct, and he practiced stuff like,
being a samurai.
Because the samurais believed that your sword was just as powerful as your words. And he deeply believed in that. Or your pen was just as powerful as the sword or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, really, really interesting guy. And he wrote this book called Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea. He also wrote another great book that's called The Temple of the Golden Pavilion, and another great book called Spring Snow. And they're all very different, but they're all very good. But this is my favourite because it's the first one I read. And it is about a 13-year-old boy who's living in Japan during the Meiji period. I'm just going to continue to call it that because I don't know how you pronounce it. And he's got a little bit of a strange relationship with his mother.
Oh, God, no.
I think the book opens with, if I remember correctly, him going into her private drawer and just sniffing her underwear or something really weird.
God. Oh, no.
Anyway, pretty strange main character. And his mother...
Freud's like...
yeah,
shaking.
very
He's
Freudian.
like, oh, yes!
Yeah, and essentially his mother begins a love affair with this sailor, and him and his friends, especially the main characters, start to really respect and look up to the man, but then they realise that he's not perfect, and he's flawed, not in any serious way, he's just got flaws, and they basically decide that he's not this perfect image of masculinity, and that in fact he's got a feminine side and he's a softie, and for this reason that they need to kill him.
No!
I think that's how this book... Okay, well, spoiler alert, but I'm pretty sure that's how this book ends. And it's a great book about alienation and disillusionment, and really interesting thing that Mishima does in pretty much all the books that I mentioned, not really Spring Snow, but definitely this one and the Temple of the Golden Pavilion, is that he gets to the action and then it almost like the book ends like before the action, kind of. It's really strange. So like for example, in the Temple of the Golden Pavilion, the whole story, spoiler alert, that's a great book too, but spoiler alert, is about this young guy who becomes disillusioned with the church, and he plans to burn down the Temple of the Golden Pavilion.
No.
And the book ends right as he does it, basically, and then you never find out what happens to him. And it's really interesting, and this is the same kind of thing. They basically commit this act of revenge and against this man, and then it kind of ends before you find out what happened to the man and what happened to all the boys. And it's really interesting, and it makes you think, and really just interesting book. It came out in 1963, I think. So just 1 year after The Man in the High Castle.
Oh, God.
I like how I'm addressing The Man in the High Castle like we've just talked about it. Like this isn't going to come out 3 months after that podcast. It came out in 1963. And another example of a bit like Philip K. Dick, where the author is almost like more interesting than the work. The work is great. Like this is a 10 out of 10 book. But Mishima is such an interesting character, and there's a great movie about him, directed by Paul Schrader, who directed Schrader directed and wrote First Reformed with Ethan Hawke. He also wrote Taxi Driver for Martin Scorsese.
Taxi Driver. So
really well known figure in film. Made a film about Yukio Mishima. It's called Mishima: Life in 5 chapters, I think, or 4 chapters. So it's just a great book. I didn't sell it that well there, and something.
It sounds cute.
Something you will realize is that I just love Japanese fiction.
Yeah.
I love Japanese
you
fiction
do.
because just something about Japanese authors, they just get it, man. They just get being human, and they're able to communicate like feelings in such a specific way to the point where you read it and you think, oh my god, I feel like that all the time, but I've never been able to communicate what that feels like. And one of the other books I'm going to talk about is like a perfect example of that. And just this book's just a really good example of that. And it's a dark, intense, disturbing, exciting story, and nice and short. You can read it in one afternoon, and I highly recommend it to anyone that wants to branch out and read translated fiction. And yeah, that's all I have to say about The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea. Other than that, it's got a fantastic cover.
It is.
Based on the Great Wave, one of
Yeah.
my favourite paintings. And
It's cute. It's cute. And
excellent.
it was very that was very beautiful.
it's an excellent book. I highly recommend it.
Okay.
So there you go, Bog. That's my number 4.
Read or deed? What are we thinking, guys?
read
I'm
or
talking,
deed,
I'm
Bog?
talking to sidebar. I'm talking to
Okay.
the listener
Okay.
here.
Sorry.
Read or deed, guys? What are we thinking? Talk amongst yourselves.
That's amazing. They're all talking.
They're all talking.
That's crazy.
Okay, we're saying read. We're
Okay.
saying read. It's short, and I'll read it.
Would you like a little excerpt?
Yes.
I'll read the first line
Read me
because I don't have
something.
any highlighted
Read me
or
something
anything.
from it.
Okay. Let's see here. Mishima's got this beautiful prose too. She's just a great writer. And let's see. Chapter 1. Let's start at the very start.
Do it.
So the main character is called Noboru. It says Noboru's mother closed his bedroom door and locked it. What would she do if there was a fire? Let him out first thing. She had promised herself that. But what if the wooden door warped in the heat or paint clogged the keyhole? The window? There was a gravel path below. Besides, the second floor of this gangling house was hopelessly high. He's got this kind of
Aw.
pessimistic, like, thinking about death all the time kind of kid.
Real.
Really interesting.
So real.
Really interesting. I'm starting to realise that a lot of these books are that I'm about to talk about are pretty much
Kinda
the same
depressing,
book.
man.
Pretty much the same book, different font.
Kind of depressing.
All right, that's my choice.
Awesome.
You're welcome to borrow that. I feel like
I
it's
will read
really
it.
good.
I'm gonna read that.
Yeah.
I will read it. 100%.
Okay, what is your next pick?
Okay, book number 2 for Kira. It is George Orwell's 1984.
Naturally, a
Naturally.
classic.
A classic. I love this book, and I know it's kind of like it's basic and it's not really a deep cut or anything, but I love this book. I've said it before. We did it as well as Brave New World, in Mr. Meikle and Mr. Swan's Advanced Art English class.
Yeah,
Shout out to my
the main man, the main man.
Shout out to them. Right, I love this book, and I was tempted to also bring Brave New World and talk about them separately, but I feel like I must talk about them as if they are the same, because they're kind of the same to me.
Yeah,
I love a good dystopian fiction. I love this book. It's the cornerstone of dystopian fiction. Actually,
it probably is.
It is. It's one of the first very it's one of the first ones.
First famous
One
dystopians.
of the first good ones, right? I mean, you have things like Call of Cthulhu and that, but that's science fiction. That's
that's not. I wouldn't say
that's
that's dystopian.
It's not dystopian. Anyway, it's so good. If you guys don't know what this is about, what are you doing?
Where
man?
have you been?
Where have you been, man?
You know that TV show Big Brother?
Guess that's exactly what this book's about.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the book was based on that TV show.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I know. Can I just say that everyone listening at home, Bog has brought out a perfectly beautifully annotated copy with post-it notes of 1984.
Yeah, I've got like several quotes highlighted, and then on the pink post-it notes, like what they mean.
I mean, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, no, this is what got me that A.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and the green post-it notes are
Important chapters or
no. They're they separate the different acts.
Oh, yeah.
Parts separated into parts.
Yeah.
It's so immersive. George Orwell created such
Julia Fox trying to make an escape off of the sofa there.
George Orwell created such an immersive world. It's the world building that he creates. It's so good, and you can just get into it really easily. It's so brutalist, industrialist. It's all very womp womp, like very bad, very red, very rah. Paranoia. There's the party. There's the inner party, the outer party. There's what?
Isn't there also a book that they all read? And it's just called The Book.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think so. Can't remember. Yeah.
And then like halfway through, it's just like a 30-page excerpt from the book.
That's the book of. No, it's not the book that they all read. That's the forbidden book. It's like chapter 10 is literally like brain rot. Like I feel like George Orwell was like, I've created something that's so in depth and so really cool. I must just get it out there.
See,
people will read it. It's not very well. It's like it's good to the story, but it's not like integral to the story. You can like read it without reading that bit.
I am not gonna lie. When I read 1984 about 6 years ago, and I got to that section, I just skipped it.
Yeah,
and it was it was no different.
It's no different. When we were reading it in class, we were told to just skip it. I'd already read the book the summer before because I thought I'm gonna get ahead of everyone.
Get the jump
and
on
I
them.
read it, and when I realised I didn't have to read it, I was so annoyed. But yeah, it's really cool. It's awesome. The only bit that I don't like about this book is the bit at the end where Winston has been captured by the thought police, and has been taken, and he's waiting to go to room 101, which is the torture chamber where your worst nightmare gets presented before you, and you have to renounce everything and have to admit to everything bad that you've done, and they'll let you go before they kill you. Yeah. But he's waiting in this holding cell, and everyone that he's kind of like spoken to, or like everyone, there's like an ensemble of like secondary characters, they all come in and out, and it annoyed me when I first read it. I was like, this is like such a cop out. They're just trying to like wind this up. George Orwell is just trying to like
tying
wind
up
this
all the
up.
loose ends.
Yeah, it's like one of the guys that he works with, he's in there, and he gets taken away. O'Brien comes back and is like, oh, hey man, hey.
It's
and
me.
There's this old guy, and he gets taken away, and that's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only bit I didn't like. Julia is a big character in this. Julia kind of slay.
Yeah.
Julia kind of slay.
What's the main character of 1984 called? Winston? Yeah.
Winston Smith.
Wow.
Winston Smith.
Witness protection, that's name.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so cool. He's so awesome. He becomes disillusioned by the whole Big Brother, and he's like, I remember things differently. This is 1984, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
And the government is trying to say things that it's not true.
Yeah.
And we have to correct it, and it's not true, and it's driving me insane.
Big up the Winston.
Big up the Winston.
Bro was disillusioned.
Also, colour theory in this book is so good. There's a bit that I wrote about in my essay where it's like Winston's like on a cliff contemplating like when he remembers like thinking about killing his wife off a cliff, and he's like Winston noticed some tufts of loose strife growing in the cracks of the cliff beneath them. One tuft was of two colours, magenta and brick red, apparently growing out of the same root. It's so good, right?
Yeah.
So it's these very bright, vibrant flowers growing out of this like awful place.
Yeah.
And it's so good. Red flowers growing in inhospitable surroundings, symbolising the ability for revolution to succeed against odds, sense of optimism. And Winston also has this quiet sense of optimism throughout the book, and you're like, oh my god. And there's this one bit where him and Julia are really happy, and then spoiler alert, they get taken by the thought police.
Yeah.
They're like in bed, having a good time, and then they get taken by the thought police.
And just the illusion is broken.
Yes.
So good.
So good.
1984 is
so good.
You know what? I would say deed or read or deed,
Read
but
or deed.
I've already read 1984.
Okay, are you gonna reread it?
Yeah, I probably will actually.
And fun fact, I got really excited when I found this out. Audible, please sponsor us. Audible, please sponsor us. Audible are coming out with a new 1984 recording.
Yeah.
With Andrew Garfield.
Oh, I heard about this.
And Cynthia Erivo.
That'll be slay.
It's gonna be so good. I saw it, and I saw like the trailer for it in the cinema one time. And
That's awesome.
And I thought, oh my god, they're remaking 1984. Oh my god, we're gonna get a 1984 movie or like a show. Oh my god, this is insane. Andrew Garfield's name's attached to it. Oh, it's Audible. Okay, I'm still gonna listen to it.
Pick up Andrew Garfield. Get that Audible money.
Get that Audible bag, Andrew Garfield. Wish we were doing the same.
I know. Okay, well, to the audience at home, I encourage you to read 1984.
Please read 1984.
Everyone should read 1984 at some point.
So good.
It's just objectively like one of the classics of all time.
And we live in a 1984 society. This is just like
True.
1984. Anytime I'm not allowed to like do something, I'm like, this is just like 1984.
Okay, big brother.
Okay, big brother. Anytime my manager at work says like, oh, I saw you do that, I'm like, okay.
Okay, big brother.
Okay, big brother.
What is this? The thought police?
Me when I have a deep fear that everyone can read my thoughts.
Mhm.
No! Thought police! No!
Okay, Slay 1984. Slay George Orwell. Animal Farm, also goated.
And did you know George Orwell was in Hare Myers Hospital?
Yes, when he died.
Yes, when he died.
Which is our local hospital.
Yep.
There you go. I think he wrote most of 1984 in Hare Myers Hospital.
Oh,
I think.
I don't know about that. I was told about this when we were learning it. And then
Yeah. Well, there you go.
forgot.
Well,
What's next
good,
for you?
good choice.
Yes.
Classic.
It's awesome.
I don't actually have the other book that this book I'm about to talk about with me, but
What's
it's
your number 3?
number 3 is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath.
Yes, I have it here. Do you want to use it?
Oh yeah, can I? Thank you. As a prop, it'll help me think. Yes, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I think I actually read this the same month as Yukio Mishima. Oh, this is a nice copy of The Bell Jar, man.
It is.
And it's another classic. I think everybody either has or should read The Bell Jar. Really good example of like mental health being depicted in a compelling and realistic way, especially in an older book. Like did this
Yes.
book 1950s probably?
Yeah,
The Bell Jar.
it's something like that.
And obviously another example of an author that was a very interesting person and quite tragic. Sylvia Plath had a very tragic
Sylvia Plath.
ending. Yeah, and it's the story of Esther Greenwood, who's working as an intern for a fashion magazine in New York City in the 50s.
Which is so Devil Wears Prada core.
Yeah.
Devil Wears Prada!
And basically just not having a good time.
No, she really struggles with her mental health in this.
Just
She
not
struggles
having a good
with
time.
the sense of being herself.
Yeah.
She struggles with
She's
being a
alienated.
human.
Yeah, she feels very alienated. I'm going to use that word a lot.
Yeah.
And
So a lot of your books are like
I think
that.
every single one of these books is just about a main character that feels super alienated from society. Maybe that says something bad about me. And
It's such like a victim complex. Like,
Yeah,
oh, they're just
yeah.
like me.
I am so alien.
I'm an alien from society.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say too much about it because I just think everybody should go and read it. But it's beautiful, beautifully written, and I believe that The Bell Jar has the greatest opening line in all of fiction. And I'm going to read it for you all right now.
Please do.
It was a queer, sultry summer. The summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. Just great. Just tells you everything you need to know. Just go to the book, man. I just threw it on the floor, but I do love it. And Sylvia Plath, only novel that she ever wrote.
I've got,
she wrote some poetry.
Yeah, I've got what's that one poetry book? Ariel. I've got Ariel.
Mm-hmm. And I've never read her poetry right enough, but
Our poetry's good.
I absolutely adore this book. I know a lot of other friends that have. I know that you love this book,
I love this book. That's why I brought it with me.
and I know that it's just a great cover, isn't it?
Oh, it's so good.
I just realised that the
Mhm.
first page is actually there.
Mhm.
That's awesome. One of my good friends absolutely loves this book too, and it's just perfect. It's the best example of this kind of fiction that's kind of about female rage, but also
so
not
good.
really. It's like
Let's get Sophia Coppola on a movie adaptation of The Bell Jar.
I can't believe there hasn't been a.
Maybe
Or
that's
maybe
what
has
I'll
there?
do.
Has
Maybe
there?
that's what I'll do.
Has there been a movie of The Bell Jar? It's not
My
very plot
adaptation
forward, to be fair.
My adaptation of The Bell Jar.
And it just captures the feeling of loneliness perfectly, and of being surrounded by people but not really feeling like you understand any of them or they understand you, and feeling, I don't know, disillusioned.
It's so good.
And it's brilliant.
It's
The
so
first
good.
two chapters of The Bell Jar are just awesome. There's like a part where she's with her friend in a hotel, and her friend brings a guy back to the hotel, and she's just kind of like, I feel like I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now, and so good. I gave my copy of the Bell Jar to a good friend of both of us, Jen. Jen, fan of the podcast, I think.
Love Jen.
And Jen took it to London, and I hope you're enjoying it, Jen, because I thought I was gonna get it back, and it's been over a year.
No, my feminist prose. No.
I sound so like such a pick me boy saying this, but I
love this book. I love this book. My feminist prose.
I love stuff like this. Like, see, like The Bell Jar, The Driver's Seat by Muriel Spark, The Edible Woman by Margaret Atwood. Shout out to my friend Abby for giving me that copy of that book. Fantastic book.
My feminist prose.
I just love my feminist 1960s feminist
I love
fiction.
My feminist prose.
And then I Never Promised You a Rose Garden.
Yeah, which hey, I'm gonna say similar.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
definitely.
I've definitely read it already.
Definitely.
Because I definitely read that book right now.
So that's all I have to say about the Bell Jar. You've read the Bell Jar.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna assume it's an automatic read.
Oh, it's an automatically read. It's like if I'm ever going anywhere, that book's coming with me.
And do you encourage the audience at home to read the Bell Jar?
I so encourage the audience to do it. It makes you sound like such a cool person if you've read the Bell Jar.
Great book.
Great book.
R.I.P. Sylvia Plath.
Oh man, Sylvia Plath be in the comments like ah.
But thanks for giving me a shout out, guys. Did we ever talk about Sylvia Plath on the podcast before?
No, I don't think so. Oh, there's a Sylvia Plath movie with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Is there?
Yes, Gwyneth Paltrow plays Sylvia Plath.
What's it called?
Sylvia Plath.
Oh.
Or Sylvia.
Haven't seen it. I just know that she.
I know. I saw it like when I was scrolling for something on Amazon Prime. So
we must have talked about Sylvia Plath in the last podcast because we were talking about the Virgin Suicides and we were talking about how one of the lesbian sisters, or not the last podcast, the podcast from 4 months ago, or the Virgin Suicides podcast, because we're talking about how lesbian sisters put their head in the oven, and that's how Sylvia Plath killed herself.
You maybe mentioned it. Maybe.
Anyway, there's a great documentary about Sylvia Plath too. I think it's called Behind the Bell Jar. It's on YouTube. Should definitely give it out. Maggie Gyllenhaal narrates it.
I love Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, you should listen to it. It's really good. So that's my choice. That's number 3.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening to my talk on the Bell Jar. I love women and women who are in a bad place mentally. Let's go. Female mental health.
He's so not like other
progressive.
boys.
Yeah.
He's so like not other boys.
I'm actually the only good guy in the world.
Oh, he's the last good guy.
The last good guy.
The last good guy.
I'm the last good guy. I'm Clint Eastwood. That sounds like a western.
Yeah. Oh, how does Clint Eastwood talk? Just down ain't big enough for the two of us. Whatever he says. There's a snake in my boot.
I just love my 1960s feminist fiction. Put 'em up. Big boy.
Oh, God.
Stick 'em up. Pulls out his copy of the Bell Jar from his holster and shoots the guy with it. It's like, yeah, that's the power of
women. I'd love to see that Clint Eastwood movie. Where that famous Clint Eastwood movie where he defeats misogynistic men.
With a copy of Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar.
With the Bell Jar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Bog, what's next?
My next book is
Great
Truman Capote's In Cold Blood.
choice. I've never read it.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
I have it upstairs. I just have to, back into it.
I read this maybe in like 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like 15.
Uh-huh.
And how old were you in 2021? Does that make you feel old?
2021, I would have been 19.
Oh, something like that.
19 going on 20.
Aww.
That's crazy. You were 15.
Mm-hmm.
No, you would have been 15 going on 16. You're not that young.
I was born 2006.
Oh my god.
I was 15 when I read this book.
Oh my god. Okay. Move on.
It was the summer of 2021. I was knee deep in my true crime obsession, listening to all the podcasts, watching all the YouTube girlies that talk about true crime.
Mm-hmm.
Bailey Sarian, love her.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to the Morbid podcast.
Yes, I know it. Case File.
Yep. Listening to My Favorite Murder.
Mm-hmm.
Slay. And then I read this book, which is really, really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a true story about the Clutter murders, the Clutter family murders.
Yep.
And they were this really lovely family, quite high up in this like rural American town. And yeah, Kansas. He's
Yeah.
a farmer, but he's well known, loved. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and they all get murdered.
Yep. What's it?
And
Is it like a fictional account of it, or is it half kind of
No,
biography, half
so
theory?
the murderers, the young killers, Perry Smith and Dick Hickok.
Dick Hickok.
Which is a
Awesome name.
unfortunate name. I'm so sorry. Yeah. They killed them, and I'm pretty sure they both died for the murder.
I know that Perry got the death sentence.
Yes, but Truman Capote, he visited Perry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he visited the killers
In prison.
in prison. That's the whole second part of the book. The first part of the book is all kind of exposition, telling you what happened and the facts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of setting the scene for the town. You know, the different people in the town, the kind of place the town was, and how.
Yeah.
Because the young girl was really young,
Yeah.
and she was found in her bed, and it was
Mhm.
it's so sad.
Yeah.
The second part of the book is more about the killers.
Okay. Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, and there's a whole big thing about it, and there was like this whole big thing about Truman Capote being like lovers with
Yeah.
Perry Smith,
Empathizing.
and he's like, yeah. To be fair, he writes sympathetically about them. He writes like, oh, they were uneducated, they didn't have much growing up,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Certain circumstances led them to being killers. It's not really their fault. They were terrible people, but
Yeah.
no, come on, we need to sympathise.
I've seen the
with it.
film of Inkle Blood, Richard Brooks. Excellent film. Highly you should definitely go watch that.
Yeah, I should.
And I feel like I don't know if it's in the book, but I feel like in the movie there was a part about how Perry was like abused as a child
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff as well. Not that I'm trying to, sympathize with a murderer here, but this stuff always stems from somewhere. It's like, look at a serial killer, like 9 times out of 10 they were victims of abuse or something.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you all about that.
All those years of case file.
You had a head trauma when you were younger. You liked to abuse animals when you were younger.
You fell off a swing.
You fell off a swing and then the swing came back and hit you in the head.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think that actually did happen to some serial killer.
Yes, that's why I'm thinking that. Is it?
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy that happened to.
Yeah, one of them.
One of them. Oh, you're abused by your father? Your alcoholic father?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
If you have 54 bodies under your floor?
I'm sorry, what? Pogo the Clown? Sorry.
How do you think you got all those bodies? That's crazy. 54 bodies under your floorboards. Must have been a huge house. I could never.
Never.
I could maybe fit 20.
I could maybe...
I know.
21.
Theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, I could maybe fit at least one body underneath my house.
Yeah.
At
least one.
At least one. Reserved for my worst enemy of all.
One day this is going to be used as evidence in a court of law.
When fan favourite Nicholas Corbett turns missing.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me draw you to this discussion about hiding bodies under the floor.
But yeah, this is a really good book. You should read this book, and you should watch all the media surrounding it, like the Inkle Blood movie,
Richard Brooks, highly recommend.
Philip Seymour Hoffman movie Capote.
Never seen it, but I've heard it's good.
We watched it in Mr. Meikle's Advanced Art English class because we read.
Shout out Mr. Meikle.
Shout out Mr. Meikle again.
Mr. Meikle really, he needs to give us fan mail. I'm gonna send him our email.
No, I'm gonna send him fan mail.
From the 1am book club
I'm
podcast.
sending him fan mail. We need to get him on the podcast, Adam.
Or we should ask for a recommendation.
Oh, yeah.
Just get Mr. Meikle to write
Mr. Meikle, man.
Just get Mr. Meikle to write a memoir, and that would be my top 4 big time.
That would be my number 1.
Yeah. Let me tell you the story about the time I rode a crocodile over the Mexican border.
Yeah, it's like one time he was telling us a story about how his class went to like Ireland one time, and one of his pals had to like clean the toilets, and then they all called him Boggy for the rest of his life, and I'm like, that's me. And then he was
that's
like,
where it came from. I'm
I'm
going to call myself that.
that's exactly where my name came from.
Do you know I have this new guy that I work with now, and he laughs like a foghorn. Lovely guy, like genuinely really nice guy, but he laughs like a foghorn, and for that reason everybody calls him Fogger. And it kind of reminded me of you.
Aww.
And it made me a little bit sad.
Aww.
Anyway.
Yeah, we don't work together anymore, guys.
No, we don't. It's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
In Cold Blood. I haven't read it yet, but I actually do own it, and I'm planning to read it. So I'm going to give that a big fat read. In fact,
Yahoo!
I might go read it right now. Or not right now, but once we're done. And I encourage everyone at home, audience at home. Let me get a little aside with the audience at home. Guys, I think you should all go and read Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. Okay. I'm glad we're all in agreement. Yep, they all thought that was a good idea. They all agree. Okay. In Cold Blood. Nice. Also got a great cover.
Oh, it's so cool.
You know, they say you should never judge a book by its cover, but
we
all are.
But I picked this up because the cover looked cool.
We all are, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is actually them, by the way. That's actually Perry Smith and Dick Hickok.
I'm taking that's Perry on the right because based on what they look like in the movie, I think Perry was a small guy.
Yeah.
That explains.
That's Dick Hickok.
He was a short king. A short king with angry issues.
Oh, God.
Angry.
Okay, Adam.
Okay.
You're number 4. You're
number
3.
2.
You're number 2?
Yes.
That's your number 3.
Oh, well, I'm doing it in reverse order.
Oh, yeah. You're number 2.
Number 2, best favourite book of all time. And it's a book with... I haven't reread this book in a very long time, but it's a book with sentimental value. I left school. I won't say when because I'm embarrassed by how old I am.
You're not that old, come on.
Left school, graduated 2019. And
2019 you left school?
2019 I left school. And I was gifted this book by my dad. And it had a profound impact on me. I kind of think it's the book that got me into reading seriously.
That's so sweet.
And it's the only book, I think, maybe one of the only books I ever read in like 2 days, and the whole time I was reading it I was just totally sucked into the world. It was like an ethereal experience. And the book is A Big Red Flag, and it's, drum roll, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And I don't know anything about J.D. Salinger, but I do know that I absolutely love this book. A lot of people would consider The Catcher... For a long time, The Catcher in the Rye was just my favourite book of all time. And to go back to the thing we were talking about covers, and here comes a puppy.
Here he comes.
I'm going to move that coffee before he takes a big step in it.
Baby.
Oh, shit. Watch yourself, Doug. Watch yourself.
Hey, baby.
He's trying to stop the pod. To go back to the thing we were talking about covers.
Yeah.
This book has an absolutely terrible cover. But it's a great book.
I've seen better.
Yeah.
I've seen better covers of that one.
I think this is like a first edition UK or something.
You can sniff that. That's okay.
Oh no, he's coming up for the muffin. There's nothing up there, man. I'm afraid that's just a muffin wrapper.
So I'm gone, man.
I love The Catcher in the Rye. For a long time, it was my favourite book of all time.
Did it make you want to kill John Lennon?
No. I find I kind of empathise with Holden Caulfield, or not empathise. I sympathise with him, but everybody's like, "Oh, you think Holden Caulfield's like you relate to Holden?" I'm like, no, he's just an interesting character. And people always say, "Oh, it's so misogynistic, and it's this, and this."
How can you be misogynistic when you love the bell jar?
Exactly. This is actually why I talked about the bell jar, is to soften the blow of the Catcher in the Rye.
You can't be a misogynist. You love the bell jar.
Exactly. And again, I don't have that much to say about The Catcher in the Rye. It's just the story of Holden Caulfield, who has been expelled from school, and he just goes on a big adventure in New York City, encountering prostitutes and people he used to go to school with, and old teachers, and his sister, and such, before he needs to go home to his family. And it's about him dealing with grief and the loss of his brother, who's died. So I'd clarify, he didn't lose him in the supermarket or anything. He did die.
He's lost.
And him just dealing with that, and not dealing with it very well. And again, it's just a perfect picture of loneliness. My 3 favorite words: loneliness, alienation, and disillusionment. And it's quite similar. It's kind of like quite similar to the bell jar. Actually, very similar to the bell jar. You've read The Catcher in the Rye, correct?
Yes, I've read Catcher in the Rye.
And it's the kind of book that a lot of people read in school, and
they either love it or hate it. It's like your Gatsby. It's like things that you read in school. Like I read 1984 in school for the first time. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. Read Catcher in the Rye, not for school, but I loved it anyway. Read Gatsby for school. The Great Gatsby was one of the first books, or the first things that we did in school that I didn't hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I
100%.
I never read The Catcher in the Rye in school. It was very much an independent choice on my part. I wish I'd read it in school. I think I would have had a greater appreciation of it if I had. But I didn't. But I encourage any young person to read The Catcher in the Rye.
It's so
I encourage
good.
anyone to read it, but
Any young person, I think it's very influential and very, you know.
Yeah. When I was 17, I've just freaking loved this book. I was like, oh, this book is so good, and it's so digestible.
It's so good, and it's quite short.
Great book. I don't have very much more to say about it.
It is
But
awesome.
it's goated.
It's cool. It's awesome. I love that book.
It's goated.
Awesome.
So yeah, The Catcher in the Rye. I absolutely love it. It's a classic again. It came out in the 50s. And
Love old books.
just read it, man.
Love old books.
Just read it. I'm starting to realise that every single book I have, except for that first one you've read.
Mm.
So read or deed?
Read.
Read.
Actually, guys, I'm gonna talk to you guys specifically now. That woman has been walking past. That's like the fifth time I've seen her.
Maybe she's just walking in circles around my street.
God, that's sad. Okay, guys.
Good for her.
We really need to read Catcher in the Rye, and we need to rise up and kill John Lennon. Okay.
Kill John Lennon. I don't remember that being an aspect. Did Golden Coffee want to kill John Lennon?
No, but like the guy that killed John Lennon.
Oh,
read
The Catcher in the Rye
and decided he wanted to kill John Lennon.
Oh, yes, you're right.
That's the whole thing about Catcher in the Rye. Makes you want to kill John Lennon.
And
did it make you?
I didn't know him. No.
I mean, to be fair, the deed was already done.
Yeah. Speaking of deed, it's gonna be a read.
It's gonna be a read.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to my talk about The Catcher in the Rye. My very brief talk. All right, let's wrap it up. What's your last book?
Okay, guys, we all know my favorite book in the whole entire world is Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen.
Yes.
I love this book.
I've never read it.
It's so good, and I'm going to tell you why you should read it. It's kind of a big book.
It's quite daunting.
It's quite daunting, but it's not as big as The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. That's an even
Never
bigger
heard
book.
of it.
Sorry.
Oh, clear the throat. Don't want to seem unprofessional.
I read this book. To be fair, I didn't get into it from the very start. I it was kind of bitty at the start. You know, it's opens up on dialogue between two characters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you get into it, as soon as it clicks. Oh my god, it clicks. It's so good.
What's that about?
So good.
What's the story of Crossroads?
Okay.
In basic terms.
It's December. It's the 23rd of December 1971, and the Hildebrands are at a crossroads. 15-year-old Perry has resolved to be a better person and quit dealing drugs to 7th graders.
That's a coincidence. His name's Perry.
His sister Becky, the one straight-laced high school social queen, has veered into counterculture while at college. Clem is wrestling with a decision that might tear his family apart, as their parents Russ, a suburban pastor, and Marion, his restless wife, tug against the bonds of a joyless marriage. Crossroads finds a family and a nation struggling to do the right thing. So it's set.
So it's an epic.
Yes, and it's set kind of on the backdrop of the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Don't want to spoil it too much, but one of the characters, he's a pacifist and he's very anti-war. But he resolves to go and fight in Vietnam. Or he resolves to go and fight somewhere else. Or he goes somewhere else because he feels it's his duty to... It's his place to do it rather than somebody else that doesn't deserve to go to war.
Nice.
And he should go to war because he's anti-war.
All right.
And just because he's anti-war doesn't mean he doesn't need to go to war.
war.
It's very interesting.
Sounds sad.
It's very interesting. Becky falls in love with a musician.
Nice.
Oh, God.
Is this a very music-heavy book?
Kind of. It's very... I could create a playlist just for this book.
Mm-hmm.
It's very... Oh, my gosh. She falls in love with... What's his name?
I don't know.
No, what's the name? What's his name from Virgin Suicides?
Oh, Trip Fontaine?
Yes! She falls in love with Trip Fontaine. It's not Trip Fontaine. I think his name's Tanner, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I can't remember.
Tanner, that's such a Trip Fontaine coded name.
Yeah, so a Trip Fontaine type. She falls in love with him, and he's a musician, but they're also Christian. So Crossroads is the youth group in the church, and it becomes very popular, and they go to do like volunteer work in this pardon me, this native reserve, and they put like build schools and stuff at this reservation that the dad Russ, the pastor, has like a special connection to. And then he struggles with, are we doing the right thing, because the young and restless the new generation of Native Americans, they don't want our help.
Yeah.
They're good on their own.
They're just doing their own thing.
But I feel like it's my duty. I belong here. This is my duty. I've been doing this since I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know? I want to help. You should be happy that I'm helping you. Very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Crossroads is like the youth group. And Perry, he's 15. What can I say? He's just, yeah. He wants to be a good person. He's struggling with that. The characters, it's a very dysfunctional family, and I love him. The mum, Marion, has such a cool backstory. Goes into the mum's backstory.
Yeah.
Oh my god. You think, oh my god, Marion?
Yeah.
Bad. Tomato. Then you learn her backstory, and you're like, oh my god, Marion.
Good.
Slay. I love her.
Tangerine.
Yeah.
What's like the opposite of tomato? Something delicious.
Cake.
Satsuma.
Cake.
Cake.
Cupcake. Woohoo. But yeah.
It seems like a very detailed.
Yes.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. The dad has an affair. Sacre bleu.
It is a big book.
Yeah.
Let me see the font size. I do wish to. Oh, it doesn't look that bad actually.
It's really good.
I do want to read this. I keep seeing it in the shop.
Oh, so good.
Great cover too.
Actually, I'd like to shout out the guy that picked this book for me, because it very much changed the way that I write and the way that I think about characters. And I'd like to shout out Ryan Tracy.
Sure, Ryan.
Ryan Tracy! I'd like to shout this out to you, because when we were in Waterstones that one time on, like, in 6th year, during, like, a free period, you said, Kira, you look like you'd love this book. This looks like a book for you. And I said, you know what, Ryan, I'm going to buy it because you said that.
And it's your favourite book of all time.
It's my favourite book of all time. So, Ryan, shout out to you, man.
Shout, right? You know what? That's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
You were at a crossroads.
I was at a crossroads.
And
I actually wasn't reading a lot when I read this.
Yeah.
And then I read this, and it got me back into reading.
What age were you when you read this? 2021?
No. This was like 2023.
Oh, so like last year?
Last year.
Nice.
I was 16 going on 17. Didn't know anything.
That just happens.
I knew this book looked awesome, and I read.
And that's all you needed to know.
That's all I needed to know.
And you read it, and now you know everything.
Exactly.
Opened up your mind. It's like that
Gained
meme.
consciousness.
Yeah. Man. Okay, read or deed?
Read or deed,
well,
Adam.
read, because I know it's your favourite book, and for that reason
so
I want to read it.
So good.
And yeah, it seems like the kind of thing you need to read yourself.
You do.
Because you were describing it there, and it was like, this is so much. There's so much. Seems like so much goes on in this book.
It does, but you just get into it, and you kind of take it as it comes, and then you kind of live for the bits where your favourite characters come up, and you're like, oh my god, Becky, what's Becky going to do in that van? Becky, get out of the van!
Get out of that van, Becky!
Or stay in that van. That seems like a fun time.
Yeah.
And it's very 70s.
Yeah.
And they all have long hair. Oh, in my mind, they all have long hair. And they're all super hot.
Nice. Okay, read. Audience, I'm going to say read. Because it's
you,
Bog's
audience.
favourite book, and have a bit of respect and read Bog's favourite book.
If you're Team Bog, you're listening, you're reading the book.
You're Team Crossroads in that case. Team Franzen.
Team Franzen.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps up your top 4.
Yeah.
Is it? If you had to pick a favourite, would it be Crossroads?
Yeah.
And then, what's your second favourite?
Oh my god.
1984.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. Crossroads, 1984, and Cold Blood, Julia Fox.
Just because of recency.
Just because of recency.
Nice. Good order.
Mm.
And I am going to now go into my favourite book of all time, which is also a book that you've read.
I love this book.
And a sad one. Really,
one of the most.
really sad.
Wendigoon says it's one of the most disturbing books of all time.
It's not one of the most disturbing books, but it is a very sad story, especially if you know the story behind it.
Yeah.
And my favourite book of all time is No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai.
Wahoo!
And this is essentially a book about a guy it's just the story of a man's life and his battle with feeling once again alienated from society,
disillusioned,
but in a very
isolated.
extreme way. I'd also like to say that I also want to say that this book is tied with first place with the novel, which is one I have in my hand right now, and the manga adaptation by Junji Ito is also fantastic.
Is there
and
manga?
the rest I've got next door. It's absolutely brilliant, and it adds to it too. It adds some stuff, and it's the story of, I think his name is Oba. Yes, Oba, who's this alienated guy, and he's taught himself to kind of. He doesn't understand what it is to be human.
Yeah.
In fact, the back of this book has a quote. It says, "Mine has been a life of much shame. I can't even guess myself what it must be to live the life of a human being." So he feels so far.
That's so sad.
Yeah, he feels so far alienated from society that he actually feels like he's disqualified from being a human being. In fact, I think that's what the title of this book means, and the actual Japanese translates to disqualified from being human or something.
Oh my goodness.
And it's about his life going through high school and his teaching himself to clown. He basically becomes like a clown and just becomes a funny man because he doesn't know how to relate to people. And then he becomes addicted to opiates and an alcoholic.
And he drinks like a lot of gin.
Yeah.
And he has no money.
Yeah, and he attempts suicide with a girl that he's seeing at the time, and he survives, but she dies.
Yeah, I remember that.
They jump off a cliff into the water.
They jump
and he survives, but she dies. And
I remember
then
that.
he tries again and fails again. I can't remember how he attempts. And then essentially just lives this horrible, miserable life.
It's so
and
sad.
Eventually succeeds in his final attempt and throws himself into a river with another one of his lovers, and he's successful. And that sounds depressing, but it's even more depressing when you realise that the author, Osamu Dazai, 3 weeks after this book was published, took his own life.
Oh my god.
And you realise that the entire thing is an autobiography written in disguise.
Oh my god.
And once you find that out, you can reread this book, and it just becomes an entirely different thing. And you go away and you can look at the story of his life, and it's just really interesting. And interesting is such a horrible word to use for about someone's work and life, but it's really,
especially when they're kill themselves.
It's really sad and tragic, but so powerful.
Yeah.
And I think it's the kind of book that anyone could read. It's really short, again, literally really short. And Dazai, such a fantastic author, wrote another great book called The Setting Sun, which I've also read, which is also a great book. Similar kind of themes. And this was his last book, obviously.
No.
And it's brilliant. No Longer Human. It kind of had a bit of a resurgence because it became popular on stuff like BookTube and
Book Talk.
I actually heard about it because PewDiePie talked about it in a really old video. And
oh my god.
It's just a brilliant book. I actually really want to reread it. Really want to reread this. I might reread it soon, actually.
It's really easy to get through. Oh my gosh, I read this. I read this over 2 shifts at work.
Mm-hmm.
I started reading this at work.
So good. Powerful. Really powerful.
Yeah. Really sad.
And
just so sad.
Yeah. Just read it. That's all I have to say about this. Beautiful book. You can get it on Amazon. You can go into the bookshop and find it there.
Yeah.
In the famous Essential Fiction stand.
And
that's No Longer Human. It's really sort of
it's
depressing, but it's and a beautifully written. I mean, beautiful. His prose is amazing.
It's so
Let's
good.
Let's see if I can get a little excerpt here. Let's see. And also, what's sad about it is that he never really lived long enough to
see the fame from it.
Yeah, exactly. The first line is just, "I have seen 3 pictures of the man." And it's just it's very simply written. Let's see here. Yeah, mine has been a life of much shame. Don't know. It's just in a really depressing way. It's kind of like reading one man's extended suicide note, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. It's absolutely
so
beautiful.
Good.
Highly recommend and encourage anyone to read this.
It's makes you want to sit up against a wall and just
have a think about how much you love your life. Yeah.
No, not even just that. Like, just like sit up against the wall, brain empty, no thoughts, just kind of like existing.
Yeah. I'm
There's
realising now that
like a song like
these are all very depressing books.
yeah, like sitting up against the wall, listening to like I Can't Handle Change by Roar, like but no reason at all, and then you just
sliding down the wall.
sitting there like oh my god.
Yeah. So that's that. That's my favourite book of all time, as it stands.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, my top 4 is always changing. But those are definitely the 4 books that I would say had the most profound impact on me. I would also like to shout out The Crying of Lot 49 by Thomas Pynchon.
Yeah, let's do like honourable mentions.
I'd like to shout out Stoner by John Williams. Not the composer.
Oh, he's my favourite composer. My favourite film composer. I've got favourite different composers, but
Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes.
stay.
As I said, The Driver's Seat and The Edible Woman, both great books.
Feminist prose.
And a little, I don't know, Stephen King, Misery by Stephen King.
Yes. Yeah, I was actually going to pick that up. Stephen King, Misery, Stephen King, The Shining.
Mm-hmm. Not a big fan of The Shining book, to be honest.
The Shining see when you see The Shining movie first and you go, oh my god, Stanley Kubrick, insane.
Yeah.
Like, I love this movie. And then you read the book, because the book and the movie are so different.
I'm just not a big fan of the movie either. I think I'm just not a big fan of The Shining period.
What?
Yeah.
How can you not be a fan? Girl, I'll be so for real right now.
Do you know the best, in my opinion, the best Stanley Kubrick movie? Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh my goodness, yes.
That's by far his best.
Okay.
And then Full Metal Jacket.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
And then Paths of Glory. And then Clockwork Orange. In fact, The
Why
Shining...
do you think Clockwork Orange so far down there? I like Clockwork.
I mean, they're all great movies, but I just think The Shining is far from his best.
Shining is my favourite horror movie of all time.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
I don't know what my favourite horror movie of all time is. Probably, honestly, like the first Saw. I just love Saw.
Okay.
It's just so fun.
Yeah.
Or
honestly, the real one, he's like the guy. Oh, so good. Like the last sequence in the first Saw movie.
Game over.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
so good. And you just see like the silhouette of like him, like John Kramer.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
I also want to give a big shout out to The Troop by Nick Cutter. Probably never heard of that. That's a really good horror book on the subject of horror. And yeah, that's your honourable mentions. I'll see if I can think of anything else. But what have you got?
My honourable mentions are Cursed Bunny.
Oh really?
Yeah,
it's a good book. I've read that.
My sister's reading that right now.
Yeah. By who wrote Cursed Bunny?
Nora something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember. I got it at like a book festival. It was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Cursed Bunny. Goodbye to Berlin.
Oh, is that good?
Yes, I
haven't read it.
I read it when I was in Florida. I read it over like an hour. It's really good.
I'd love to read that.
There's a character called Sally Bowles.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And I was like, is this cabaret? And I think it might be.
Yeah?
I think it might be.
Nice.
It's really good. It's about a guy that like wanders around Berlin and he's like
just
a teacher.
Taking it in.
He's awesome. It's a really good book. Shout out to the Gone series by,
nice.
by Michael Gran.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Shout out to... What else have I read? Shout out to The Book Thief. That was my favourite book for a long time.
Oh, yeah?
Because I love the movie.
It's a good movie.
I still cry every time.
Never read it, though.
I still cry every time. Max. Oh, God. Rudy? Can we talk? Rudy! Okay. I still cry every time.
Never read it. No spoilers.
No spoilers. Rudy.
Yeah.
Those that know.
R.I.P. Animal Farm by George Orwell. Shout out.
Yep. Shout out to Grady Hendrix.
Yeah.
For My Best Friend's Exorcism and A Southerner's Guide to Slaying Vampires and The Final Girl Support Group.
Shout out to The Handmaid's Tale.
Yes. Shout out to Brave New World.
Oh, yep. Good one.
Good one.
What? I'm going to go for a newer book. I want to shout out, and people can call me a TikToker all they like. I want to shout out The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
I also want to shout out Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Great book. Really good.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a
and
really
it's
good.
popular for a reason.
Yeah. I love that book.
A lot of books on Book Talk are popular for wrong reasons, like Colleen Hoover.
We must do a Colleen Hoover episode soon.
No, okay, just out of rage.
If
there's ever a month where we just want to like really hate
get all the hate out.
Yeah, something we can both collectively hate and go, what even is this? Rah!
I want to shout out. What's a book by a Scottish author that I want to shout out? I want to shout out Young Mungo by Douglas Stewart,
Yes.
but not Shuggy Bane.
No, not Shuggy Bane.
Anti-Shuggy Bane. I want to shout out Diary of a Wimpy Kid. All of them.
Okay.
Every single one.
I wanna shout out Diary of a Wimpy Kid the movies, but not the fourth one.
No.
Let's
never
shout out Dog Days.
Hashtag not my Rodrick.
Hashtag not my Rodrick. That's so sad. We were so mean to that guy, but not my Rodrick.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Shout out to Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days for supplying one of the most funniest moments in cinema history. Rodrick singing
Baby by Justin
Baby by
Bieber.
Justin Bieber.
True.
It's so good.
That is a great movie.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. I'm thinking about what else to shout out. We
We don't have any questions.
don't have any questions
this episode because we just wanted to focus on a bunch of different books, and we actually thought it would take a lot longer than it did.
And definitely not because we're filming this in a different time.
Yeah, we're definitely not filming this back to back with the
March.
Man in the High Castle episode. Shout out Philip K. Dick.
Let's not shout out that book. I hate that book. Rah! And I didn't go back to it.
Top 4 worst books.
Top 4. Oh, what is your top 4 worst books?
Oh God. Probably Diary of an Oxygen Thief.
I've got that sitting on my bookshelf still to read. Do you not like that book?
I did not like that book very much at all. Oh, I want to shout out American Psycho for good books.
Okay. Wait, I want to get my...
And The
good-
Humans
my
by
good
Matt
books
Haig.
up.
Okay, there I'm done. Those are all my
Okay.
favourite books.
I'm trying to think of other books I've read that were really good, that stand out to me as being really good. What was that one I was reading? That Stephen King one that I was reading for a long time.
Shout out Pet Sematary.
Pet Sematary. What was that one? That one.
I don't know.
It's not. Oh my god, that's gonna annoy me. I literally read that for so long. It's about the hitman.
Oh, Billy Summers.
Billy Summers. Shout out Billy Summers.
Yeah, that's a good book.
Yeah.
Shout out Pet Sematary. Shout out Misery. Shout out The Stand. Shout out The Long Walk by Richard Bachman.
Shout out The Body.
Yeah, that's a good one.
One of my favourite movies of all time, Stand By Me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god, the ending of Stand By Me still gets me.
Oh God. All right. It's so sad because it's River Phoenix.
River Phoenix! Oh,
All right.
it still gets me like this. Like the last bits of dialogue aren't even said.
Mm-hmm.
You just type it out. I watched that movie on the plane back from Florida, and I cried on the plane.
Nice.
It was so embarrassing.
Okay. Well, that's the episode, I guess.
That's the episode, I guess.
We don't have a playlist for this episode either because
I'll
well,
make one up.
Well, we don't. We just don't.
We just don't. But I'll make one up.
Nice.
Lots of depressing songs, and then
Sounds of crying.
sounds of crying, sounds of alienation, and then sounds of metal clanging for 1984.
Right.
Maybe the Smiler theme tune for 1984 too. I don't know why the Smiler from Alton
What, the
Towers.
Smiler from
Yeah. No,
like
that's
that.
No, that's
Oh, that's Hold the Mountain King.
that's just Alton Towers. I mean the Smiler, as in like la 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 la.
I honestly can't say that I know that the theme of the Smiler.
Do you know
that
about
one.
the Smiler though?
I'm
you know-
aware of the Smiler.
Do you know that there's 13 cameras that watch you because there's 13 lips? Did you know that there's a bit in it that's called the Marmalizer, and it makes you
Because it turns out to marmalade.
no, it makes you laugh and giggle.
All right.
Yeah, and then to begin with, the music is all distorted and stuff, and then at the end it's not distorted because you've been marmalised. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Did
But
you know
thanks.
that? Did you know that?
No.
Did you know it's the most loops in any roller coaster in the UK?
Yes, I did know that actually.
Okay,
You really know all about the Smiler, don't you?
and you know why I know about the Smiler?
Why do you know about Smiler?
Ewan O'Brien. One of my really good friends, Ewan O'Brien, loves the Smiler. Or he did when we went to Alton Towers, and he made it our business to know about the Smiler.
Nice. You made it our business to
Made
know
it
about
our
the Smiler.
business to know about the Smiler.
All right. Well, with all that Smiler chat out of the way, it's my pick for next month.
What are you
July.
picking for July?
The pick for July is... Drum roll, please. Hang on, you need to give me a minute to think. Let's drum roll again. On the Road by Jack Kerouac.
Okay.
Which seems like a good book. I already have a copy, so
I don't. That's
Yeah.
a new one for me.
I've always wanted to
July.
read it. I said that about The Man in the High Castle too. I always wanted to read that, and it didn't pay off very well. So I'm sorry in
Nuh-uh.
advance. I'm sorry in advance.
Top 10 worst books I've ever read. Man in the High Castle, Money by Martin Amis.
I'm pretty sure it's Martin Ami. Isn't
No,
it?
it's Amos.
Is it?
Yeah, because because he was thingied for an Oscar for it.
Oh, it's adapted screenplay.
And it was Martin Amos, and I like sat up straight. I was lying.
What?
I was lying down watching the Oscars at like 2:00 in the morning, and they're like Martin Amos. And I'm like, no,
Amos. You're telling me this guy's name was Amos?
I thought it was like a me.
Yeah.
I was giving him way too much flair.
Mon ami.
Giving him way too much flair.
Yeah.
A man should not.
Yeah, let's go with that. On the Road by Jack Kerouac. All right, sick. That's next month's episode. You got anything else you want to add?
I don't know.
Awesome.
Maybe leave you with like a little musical goodbye.
Where are you gonna? Oh, okay.
I don't know what I'm gonna sing.
Right,
but I'm gonna
breathe
sing
down like you were gonna sing something.
I'm trying to think of what to sing.
No pressure. The people at home are waiting.
Okay.
Well,
that's the song.
that's it.
That's it.
All right, great. Thank you for that,
Bye.
Bob. All right, well, see you all in the next
See you in
episode.
July.
Please let us know your favourite books.
Oh, please do, and we'll definitely get them.
We'll definitely talk about them in the next podcast. Yeah,
No, we won't.
we might.
We met. Who knows?
We know.
We
They
know.
might know.
They might know. We'll definitely talk about it in some episode.
We'll talk about it eventually. Tell us your favourite books anyway.
Oh, definitely.
And please read all of these books.
And please let us like, subscribe, rate us on
Yeah.
Spotify 5 stars.
Go and subscribe on the YouTube.
Yeah, subscribe on the YouTube, like on the YouTube.
Show us some love, man.
Email us at the 1am bookclubpodcast@gmail.com.
Give us your fan mail. Give us your
fan
questions.
mail. We want to hear from you. We're not giving you a PO box. Although
No.
I love handwritten letters.
Nobody is going to write us handwritten
Nobody's
letters
going
anyway.
to write me. Nobody write me a handwritten letter. Okay.
Yeah, send the emails. Are emails considered obsolete as well? I love sending emails.
I love sending emails.
Seeing the little, but you have to sign them off with your name every time, and it feels very official.
It's
Here's like
Thank
to
you.
Bog, thanks from Adam.
yeah.
Can't just say thanks. That's not the email code.
Or like, to Bog, yours sincerely, you know who. Have you
Do they
met-
know?
No.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for following the episode. Bye bye.